figured I'd show you guys how I set up my tarp shelter for my motorcycle, since a lot of people were interested in it. So basically I've got a 10 by 12 tarp. I've got two lengths of 50-foot paracord, 550, and it really depends on what you have to work with. Over here I've already thrown, I tied the rope around this rock. I threw it up over that branch, and then I tied a alpine butterfly with a double Beckett hitch, so I could just pull that and it'll come undone. And I'm gonna do something similar for this side. Seems kind of pressing just because I see so much weather like right on my doorstep. I wanna, get this set up quick enough to hopefully I can use it before the weather comes in. Let's see if I think that'll be high enough. If it's a tree without any branches, I can use my trekking pole to kind of push it up higher. Once I get it set up, you leave a loose loop that you can kind of wrap up around the tree. So to do the alpine butterfly, you do 3 wraps. Pull the center one through the middle, put a hitch anywhere on a rope, just like that. And then to do the Beckett hitch, you just do a loop, and then you pull a loop through that loop, and then you pull another loop through that loop. And that's a double Beckett hitch, and that'll come undone if I pull the end of that rope. So now I guess I'll tie up the 2 high corners of the tarp, get it up in the air. So I'm just going to pick any corner, doesn't really matter that much. And usually what I do here is a kind of a Beckett hitch on a bite thing. So I basically just pull a loop through the grommet, and then I pull a loop through that loop, and then I pull another loop through that loop. And that just gives me a Beckett hitch on that corner. I'll pull it out and get the other corner set up. The wind is definitely not helping. You always kind of have to just play with it until you get it the way you want it. You're going to have to make some adjustments along the way, and it's not the fastest thing to put up, but it's faster than a lot of stuff. And you could start this process just by throwing the tarp over your bike, and then you'd already have everything covered, and you'd have a little shelter, and then you can kind of just work on the rest of it as the weather permits. I'm going to pull a little loop through there, and put a loop through that loop, pull that tight, and then put another loop through that loop. And then we'll see if this doesn't just go flying. Usually I run the rest of either of the ropes to the other 2 corners and use them to guy out the tarp. So in this case I just kind of need something that's gonna hold on that corner so it doesn't pull that Beckett hitch loose. So I tied a figure 8 on a bite, which is, so now I'm gonna do another alpine butterfly here and do a stake to the ground. I'm starting to see the shelter come together. I'm using these MSR like cyclone stakes just because they're really beefy and they can hold up to a lot of wind. I like to just bury them as far as I can with my foot and kind of wiggle it until you get it in the ground really good. A lot of times if you hit a rock or something, if you wiggle it, you can kind of get past it. Some people use a mallet, but I've found that that just bends the stake because you're trying to smash it through a rock instead of trying to finesse it through a rock. Usually if I just hit a rock that I can't get through, I just move it a few inches and try again. Eventually, unless you're just on bedrock, in which case you can grab a big rock and use that to tie it down. I'm just going to set this on there. That shouldn't go anywhere. Should be set on that one. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Got 4 of these stakes just so I can do various different pitches with this tarp. Obviously there's not much to work with here. I'm lucky I even have trees. So that's part of the reason I picked this spot, because it had 2 nice trees. So just gonna pull the slack of the rope through there. Do a figure 8 knot. Just like that, and that'll just rest in the grommet. Do an alpine butterfly. And stake it. That should be good. Just put a nice rock on it. And you know, it might not rain at all, but if it does rain, I'll be really glad that I did this. 'Cause, you know, with a car, you could just sit in the car, but with a bike, it's kind of on you to make your shelter. When the nature does not provide. So now I'm going to roll the bike up under there. I think I'm in neutral. And one thing you could do if you don't really have a lot of headroom because you didn't get your ropes high enough is you take one of those trekking poles and you make a little pole that will get your tarp up in the air. I've thought about installing something on the bike that I could fit this trekking pole tip into, but recently I've just been using like whatever is you know, nearby. And that kind of gets you a little more headroom than you would have otherwise. Man, usually I set it up better than this. Trying to think of where else I could. Now I'll stake it. Yeah, it's a little bit different every time, you know, because no two dispersed campsites are the same. You're always going to have to modify it a little bit. Oh, man, what a campsite. Goodness. It's just mountain wilderness everywhere you look. Oh. Well, might need this thing after all. And that's all there is to it. Now you've got a nice shelter as the crazy monsoon thunderstorms come and try to kill you. Yay! Now hopefully they stay way over there, far away from me. Anyways, one more look at the view, and I'm gonna go make dinner. Okay. Beautiful.